Life in Australia is spectacular.
You work, but you have quality of life.
We spend, let's say on food, we spend about, it would be like
$500 approximately, like that.
So the security in Australia
Is really,
very good.
yes, depending on the engineer, it can reach.
To earn, on average, you can make between $5,000 and $20,000 per month.
My friends, in this video, we're going to talk to you about one of the topics that excites you the most on our channel. And that's what life is like in the different countries we visit, in this case in Australia.
We're going to talk about salaries, what the quality of life is like, and what's the most surprising thing they've experienced in this country. I'm Valerisa.
I'm Emmanuel Villaroy.
Together we are
To
Crazy about traveling.
Well, my name is Felipe Villegas and I've been living in Australia since 2020. Well, my
Name is Diana. I am from
Colombia and
We've been for 10 years.
in Australia.
My name is Henry and I am also Colombian.
I'm Maria Cristina, a Venezuelan living in Australia for 9 years.
My name is Angelica Pascuales. I'm Colombian, born in Bucaramanga, raised in Bogota, and I've lived in Australia for 12 years.
My name is Sergio Contreras. I've been living in Australia for 7 years. I'm Colombian.
Well, my name is Nulby Rios and I've been in Australia for 7 years.
My name is Daniela Mejia. I'm Colombian and have lived in Australia for 6.5 years.
just like him. Life in Australia is truly spectacular. Here I discovered what quality of life really means. I feel like it's a very safe country, very clean, and where job opportunities really exist. And I feel like it has a lot to offer. I often tell my friends Australia is the new American dream.
Almost perfect. It's like relax. You work, but you have quality of life.
Calm,
Come.
relaxed, very, very, very relaxed.
My migration journey began 12 years ago when I came here to study English. I fell in love with Australia. I worked hard to achieve what I have and get where I am. 2 years ago, I became an Australian citizen. Honestly, my process was that I studied a lot to be able to get residency. His was different. It was different.
Me.
I arrived 7 years ago with a student visa. I met Angelica. She was already a permanent resident at that time. I got my permanent residency through a partner visa.
I gave him the papers.
But at least they've been together since then.
Of course, that's what matters. That's what matters. They are...
It's been 6 years since we met.
My immigration process was similar to many others. We came here on a student visa. My husband was doing a master's degree and I was able to work full-time. I began working in my field quickly and have stayed with the same company since, which greatly helped our immigration process.
I'm 100% Colombian with a Colombian passport. But when I was traveling around the world, I came to Australia. On that trip, I met my partner, who is Australian. After many years of going back and forth, we made the decision that I was going to move here to Sydney with her. That's when we started the partner visa process, which in fact we're still going through. That process usually takes 12 to 24 months. Because of COVID, they've said it could take even a little longer, so I'm still on a visa that is called the bridging visa, which is like a temporary visa that gives me all the rights as if I were already a permanent resident. But I have to wait for the visa to be approved. Currently, my only restriction is not being able to leave the country except in certain cases.
Just like almost everyone else, Colombians who come to Australia, I arrived with a student visa. After 6 months, I saved up and renewed it for another 1.5 years, taking 4 screen and media certificate courses. As an architect, I was always looking for something related, but, well, later I did project manager, and that's a countless number of courses.
For me, it was similar. I came as an English student, earned certificates like project manager, and now I'm pursuing a master's at the University of Australia.
Well, we came here to study English, but since we arrived, we knew that we wanted to get in. And since we made the decision while we were in Colombia, we found out how the migration process was going to be in Res Ingeniero Mecánico, right? Thanks to him, we got a steel independent visa and were able to stay because of his engineering.
In my house, there are two people. My partner and I live in a two-bedroom apartment. Here in Australia, expenses are usually measured weekly in most cases. We pay rent $470 a week divided by 2, so that's how we do the math. In terms of food, let's say groceries, we spend between $100 and $200 a week also when we go to the supermarket. We also have electricity expenses since everything in this apartment is electric and there's no gas bill. We pay the electric bill every 3 months. I think the bills add up to about $300 in total, $150 each every 3 months. And we don't pay for water because since it's a rented apartment, it's the owner, the landlord, who pays for the water. We only pay for electricity.
Well, it's us, my wife, my daughter, we have a newborn baby, and me. For rent, an average rent, a house with 2 or 3 bedrooms, yes. If you buy it, you can pay a mortgage of between $400 and $500 a week. Here, everything about costs is weekly: salaries, payments, bills, etc. On groceries, which is like food and shopping, we can easily spend between $180 and $220 these days, because the cost of living has gone up. On utilities, we save because we pay for them quarterly or twice a year. Regarding the house land rates, we save about $100 to $150 per week on top of the mortgage to cover those costs.
Only the 2 of us live in the house, in an apartment. The rent per week is $6.50. Do you know how much the electricity is?
In Australia, tenants don't pay for water since landlords cover it. We only pay for electricity every 3 months. $250, $300 every
week, every 3 months. Food can be $150, $200 a week, but usually we try not to cook, but to buy food outside. Even for the time, it's more economical, it's a better cost benefit.
My household includes my husband, our 2 young kids, and a puppy. Let's say we spend about that much on food. It's about $1,200 a month. We don't pay rent, but we have a house, so we're paying the mortgage. We pay around $1,200. Sometimes utilities cost a bit more monthly. We have solar panels, so electricity is cheaper, but overall, everything costs about $600.
More. There are 4 of us, and we have 2 pets, a little male dog, a little female dog, and a cat.
We have 2 children, 2 boys. One is 9 years old and the other is 3 years old. So obviously there's school and kindergarten. We bought the house 2 years ago and we got it about a month or 2 ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
The mortgage on the house is at this moment $700 a week. You also have to add the administration fees for the complex, which are approximately $70 a week. And you have to pay the council fees, like the ones from the city hall. And that includes water and garbage collection. It's approximately, I think, every 6 months, it's about $500. Approximately, I think.
School?
Children's school?
The older one is $200 a week, the little one per week. Right now, because he goes 3 days a week, it's $150
$50.
a week. Obviously, there's the dog food, the cat food, but we always buy the large bag. Lasts us 3 months. And that's what we spend it on. For Rita, the little dog we have, because she has special skin, a special stomach, she's the queen of the house. Like the cat, we spend more on food for the dogs and cats than for the kids. We both spend... Yes.
Like $200 per month?
Yes, public transportation works very well. For a long time, we didn't have a car and used only buses and trains. They work really well with timetables. You always know what time you're going to leave and what time you'll arrive at your destination. They're not very cheap because they're rarely used Gas is always expensive, but you get used to it. Ultimately, it costs about the same as owning a car and paying for gas. That's about transportation. We've used Perfect Health quite a bit. Even though we have private insurance, we use public health care a lot. Is it really worth paying so many taxes just for the quality of the service?
Why have private insurance if you use public healthcare? What are the benefits of each?
We had private insurance as students during our visa process. Is private insurance required? After becoming a resident, you can choose to stay only with the public option. However, after you turn 31, you start paying a fee to the government for using public health care. If you could pay for your own, is private insurance still worth it? Even if you use it or not. Obviously, if you still have your benefit and you're already paying for it, then use it. But without the taxes, it's slightly pricier.
Regarding health, first, as an Australian citizen, you have the right to Medicare. Medicare covers absolutely everything. If you get sick, you can show up at a clinic for emergencies, whatever it is, depending on what you have. They cover up to a certain amount, and then the rest, you have to pay for it yourself. Let's say the deductible or whatever needs to be paid in our particular situation. Well, because of the cultural aspect of our country. Additionally, we have private insurance, which costs us an entry-level price. It costs us between $300 and $320 a month. Family, including
Our baby.
I'm a mechanical engineer, and right now I'm working at a home construction company. More or less, the average for an engineer is about $90,000 a year. An engineer can make up to $150,000 or $200,000 a year, depending. Some sectors pay better than others.
Are those amounts after taxes?
before taxes.
And how much are the taxes in Australia on average?
Around 30%.
Of what?
They take it from you, although later at the end of each year, they give you a part back. If you have some tax deductions, you can apply them and they give you something back.
I work in photography. I'm a wedding photographer. I shoot couples and engagements. And honestly, in terms of salaries, it really depends on the photography specialty you're working in. But on average, you can make between $5,000 and $20,000 a month. Easily here in Australia.
The salaries for a junior engineer, let's say when I started my career here, an entry level can be between $60,000 and $65,000 a year. I think that per hour, if I'm not mistaken, it's between $28 and $30 an hour for something. So it's achievable if you're really disciplined with budgeting and you don't overspend, and that's enough to pay your rent. Let's say if you're single, it's pretty easy to have a job and pay for a room or share an apartment with someone. For half of the mortgage or the rent, groceries, you can also save money. I mean, it's very doable.
I think that the idea of the Australian government is that Australians can save about 20 to 30% of their salary. That's how they set the minimum wage in Australia.
Well, I work in air conditioning projects. I'm an architect. The salaries, that's different. There's like an average. When you start, you have to start like I did as a duct installer. I started really low, like at $18 an hour. But later on, when you get the experience, you learn English, and then you do something that's focused on your career. Which, like in my case, you can end up having an average salary of $130, $150 a year, $150,000 a year. In my
case, I work as an engineer. The salaries as an engineer in Australia also vary depending on the position you are in and the experience you have. On average, $90,000 per year.
To start with, yes.
Yes, $90,000 a year, and it can increase to
$1,000
per year if you're already a senior.
If you're already a senior manager, yes.
Wow, everything has been like a sudden shock, very gradual. But day by day, I remember that at first people noticed how much it caught my attention. Those mismatched couples, right? Because there are so many races and so many nationalities that in the end, everyone mixes together. That was new for me since I was only around Venezuelans before. Also, with so many cultures, people begin to link your face to a specific culture. They've always called me Indian even now, but I tell them I'm Chirino from Coro, Venezuela. For them, it's very normal to have immigrants, and for me, that was new because obviously I came from a place where we were all locals, exactly.
When we got here, because of university, we thought we knew English. We had to pass an exam to graduate from university in Colombia, even though we'd studied English our whole lives. And we got here and we couldn't understand anything the Australians were saying. The Australian accent is very different from the accent we're used to in South America, which is the American one. And at the English school, they told us it's because here, a long time ago, the flies were so big that Australians got used to speaking with their mouths closed. So is that why they don't articulate English words like Americans do? So that's also why it's so hard for us to understand when they speak. I thought that was funny.
I'm more on the side of culture. Australians, not all of them. I don't want to generalize about Australians here, but not all of them. I work in the talent area in acquisition, so I try to find staff and it's very difficult. Here, Australians are a bit lazy. So usually companies like internationals, because they're good workers, obviously you have to work hard and put in a lot of effort to get where you want to go. I think that's an anecdote, which is like a plus for us internationals, that we're really tough. Yes, we're really tough. We push forward, we're not afraid of anything, we're up for anything, and we do whatever it takes to get ahead. And I think that's what has gotten us to where we are. Because I never say that I didn't do every job there is in life. I cleaned, I was a waitress. A lot of things to get to where I am now, really, in the 12 years I've been here, to have the job I have now. It was 4 years ago, which isn't very recent, but I never gave up and I always fought for it. I think it's a very important story, which is that we really like the work of foreign people. Latinos above all, well, South Americans above all, because we are tough. We know what it is to suffer, we know what it is to see poverty, and we know what the hardships or difficulties are to get ahead. So that's an advantage here.
So that's a plus here. When I arrived, I could barely speak English. It was just like, hey, how are you? How are you? Good, thank you. That was the end of the conversation because I didn't know anything. I lived with 2 Venezuelans, a Chilean, and later an English girl joined us. So in order to practice, I didn't even know how to structure sentences, nothing. One day she was cooking and I wanted to ask her, like, what are you cooking? Yeah, but like I said, you cook. She came over and looked at me like, what's going on here? And I said to her, no, what? And me? Yes, and I'm cooking. She started explaining to me, all sweet, explaining things to me. Then I realized that it's very similar to how I pronounced it. So she was kind of surprised, like, Esteban, what are you offering me? And that was crazy, but anyway, things that weren't seen.
For me, something that has surprised me about Australia is how in
Everyone.
all the places you can find a public bathroom with a shower and hot water.
Toilet paper.
Toilet paper, I mean, it could be the most remote place at a campsite in the middle of some mountains. And there's toilet paper, the bathroom is clean, and there's a shower. That's something that has surprised me.
A lot. Well, one story that really surprised me was actually when I was traveling in Australia. The first time actually was here in Sydney. I went out partying one night with some friends and we finished partying. And since it's relatively very safe here, we all walked back home, though from the bar to the house. We walked back. During that time, a friend had a new jacket, but the guy was very drunk. We stopped at the park, the guy took off his jacket, left it on a bench, we forgot about it, and we all left. Well, to the house. 2 or 3 days later, he said he couldn't find the jacket and didn't know what happened. The last time we saw it, he had it at the bar. Okay, got it. We walked with our housemates through the park where we hung out that night. And that was like 3 days later. The jacket was still on the same seat, on the same bench. No one had touched it. And dude, that surprised me because here people, well, this is a jacket, but it happens with many things too. You can leave your phone here, like at a bar, and it's very likely it'll still be there. And that surprised me because unfortunately in other countries that's not the case. So for me, that was something that really shocked me, and it was the first time I was visiting Australia.
Now we came to Jared and Alicia's house. They're an Australian couple who just recently started living in Australia. They've traveled for 15 years and I think they've been living in Australia for less than a year. And we're going to ask them why they made that decision, what their reasons are, and what life is like here. So Jared,
Introduce yourself. Camera, hello.
I'm Jared. I'm a Nomatosaurus, a content creator of the whole history of Australia. I've been living in Australia for about 2 years now, basically since the pandemic started. I stayed in 2007 and came back when the pandemic began.
wow, can you tell us a little bit about your story in a short summary?
Yes, so my story basically started when I was 20 years old. I went to Canada on a holiday visa to be a ski bum, and it just opened up a new world for me for traveling, and that was it. It gave me a new path to keep traveling all around the world. And overall, it never really ended. It's been 15 years of living and traveling.
So why did you decide to come back and live here in Australia after 15 years?
We came back to Australia when the pandemic hit and we felt a bit lost. We couldn't travel like we used to, so we came back to Australia. I bought a camper van and began van life in Australia. And we realized after about 6 months that even though we'd been traveling for a long time, searching for something new and exciting, we began to believe Australia was a great place to live. Outside the cities, like in northern Queensland, it's peaceful, beautiful, and tropical. After a while, we fell in love with the area and bought a piece of land here on Magnetic Island. And now this is our home base while we travel, but now we have a place to
come back to. I love it. Tell me more. About safety and public health, since you've been living all over the world for the past 15 years compared to the rest of the world. Tell me a little about the safety and public health in Australia.
The safety in Australia is very good, especially outside the cities. It's very safe. We can leave the house, not lock the doors, not lock the car. We can leave the car keys in the ignition and everything will be safe. Now, if you're in a city, it's a little different. You have to be a bit smarter and a bit wiser. In the countryside, it's relaxing and you can walk the streets at 3 a.m. without any worries. That's much nicer than in some other countries we visited where we have to be more careful. And being content creators, we always have cameras with us, so in other countries, we're a bit more discreet. Could we put them in our pocket or just, keep them down? Here you can walk, fly a drone, bring all your camera gear and not worry about the brushes. And then for public health, here in Australia it's fantastic. We have Medicare, it covers medicine included as a citizen here. If you need to go to the hospital, you can go without paying anything. Doctor and no upfront payment required. It's very good. We have universal healthcare here, very similar to what you get in Canada, and the quality you have is incredible. The doctors and physicians here are fantastic. Yes, our regular living costs here in Australia, we don't live as cheaply as we could. We like to enjoy ourselves, so our food budget, for example, is about $200 a week, which is high, but we eat well at home here. Our tax is currently $1,600 per month. The other costs we have, like electricity, we pay around $70 per month, and that's to run the lights and the air conditioning and everything. The car registration is around $600 a year. So compared to many of the other places we've been in the world, Australia has this concept of being very, very expensive. And if you live in Sydney or if you live in Melbourne, it can be very expensive. It's similar to what you have in New York or in Singapore. But if you're happy to live outside the city, your overall cost of living can go down a lot. And if you want to live cheaply, you can easily live on $100 a week for food and things like that. but you can also enjoy yourself. So overall, our cost of living here is pretty reasonable, I think.
After living in many countries, do you feel like you're living here for a long period of time?
You know what's funny? After 15 years traveling around the world, I never thought I would live in Australia full time. I always thought I would live in South America or South Asia or something like that. But now that we've found this particular place where we live now, Magnetic Island, it has that vibe of being in Thailand or Central America. It's very relaxed and peaceful here. It's beautiful. I absolutely love it. I feel like we'll be here for a long time, if not permanently. This is now a long-term base for us.
Thank you very much for that interview.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
We had the privilege of to interview Jared, who, together with his wife Alicia, have one of the blogs in English. The biggest ones of all. Internet, it's called Nomad Saros. In fact, they are GoPro ambassadors. But as you saw on his shirt, and well, here you already saw the testimony of an Australian living in Australia. Travelers, was that all for this video? Remember that we also have videos about what life is like in India and what life is like in Dubai. And we really love being able to immerse ourselves a bit in the culture, in what it's like to live in these countries, both as a local and as a foreigner who decides to immigrate.
We also have videos on Australia and more topics. Please keep watching our channel and enjoy our content. Remember to subscribe, like, and follow us on Instagram.
Why not? Yeah. See you on the other side.